נמשיך. אני מבקש להזמין לבמה עכשיו את מר טים קוצ'יס, דירקטור ב-Fpsb ואחד מהאבות המייסדים של מקצוע התכנון הפיננסי בארצות הברית ובעולם כולו. טים, שהוא דובר מרתק, הולך לדבר איתנו על תכנון פיננסי בתור ההזדמנות של התקופה.
Thank you, Ido. Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. I have been involved in the financial planning profession in the United States for over 40 years, and yesterday I had an opportunity to have several conversations with people in your industry and in the financial planning profession here in Israel. And it was a real pleasure for me to share some of my insights and experiences as a planner, as an educator, as a writer and speaker on these topics. But today I come to you as a representative of the Financial Planning Standards Board to welcome Israel to the family of nations involved in the worldwide financial planning community, and to congratulate those of you who have already acquired the CFP credential and those of you who are to receive your certifications this afternoon. I want to begin by observing that I've been, again, in this business for a very long time, and I have been involved in the globalization of financial planning for more than 10 years, and I don't think I've ever seen so much determination and enthusiasm for what you are doing than I see here. It is very, very inspiring, and I will carry this message back to your professional colleagues around the world that Israel is becoming an important part of the worldwide financial planning profession. So congratulations to you. And I must say that I think we have to figure out a way to package Dan Dobry as a mobile energy source. There are very few people I've ever met that have as much enthusiasm as that man does. So I'm going to try very hard to keep us on our schedule, and I will consequently fly through some of the presentation that I want to convey here today. But I want to talk with you about financial planning as a career and as a business opportunity. And there we go. I want to tell you first a little bit more about the Financial Planning Standards Board. I serve as a director of that. At the present time, it's my second time on the board of the Financial Planning Standards Board. I was part of it at its formation in 2004, and actually earlier than that, and I served as the chair of the Fpsb in 2005. So I have been around that organization for a long time, and I've seen it grow. We are a global nonprofit organization that is the standard-setting body for financial planning around the world. We happen to own the International Certified Financial Planner and CFP marks. Those marks are owned in the United States by the CFP board. But, is that good? Okay. But everywhere else in the world, the Financial Planning Standards Board owns those marks. There are member organizations in 25 territories. If you add the United States to that, it's altogether 26. And our vision is to better establish and to enhance the financial planning profession as a distinct global profession with the CFP marks as its symbol of excellence. And I am very proud to bear those marks in my own personal professional life. The purpose of the Fpsb, however, is to benefit the public. This is something we try very hard not to lose sight of. We are not a membership organization. Our job is not to provide benefits to people who are, quote, members of our organization, but rather to promote benefits to the public, and we do that by establishing, upholding, and promoting worldwide, global professional standards in financial planning. The map unfortunately isn't showing up on my screen, but it is showing up there. That's good. There are currently 26 member territories, including our most recent addition, which is the country of Turkey. You see we are heavily represented in Europe and in East Asia, and because the countries in North America are so large, you only see 2 dots in North America, but they are Canada and the United States. And we are represented again throughout the world, almost every continent except Antarctica. Though so far there are no financial planners in Antarctica. There are, at the end of 2013, 153,000 CFP professionals, but as Dan has already mentioned, by the end of this year, 2014, there will be well over 160,000 CFP professionals around the world. The countries here are listed in the order of the number of CFP professionals at the end of last year. So you have to look down toward the bottom of the second column to find your country, Israel, whereas of the end of last year, there were 61 CFPs. Well, there will be more today. The growth in the CFP certification has been really very rapid. In 1974, the very first CFPs in the United States came into existence, and there were only 25 of them. And today there are, again, well over 150,000, on its way to 160,000 of your fellow professionals. And they are arranged around the world, with the largest number of them in the Americas. The United States and Canada together have approximately almost 80,000 CFP professionals in North America. And if you look down toward the bottom right, you'll see that one purple icon. That's Israel. That's you. The growth of the CFP professionals in 2013, the largest number were in the largest country, in the USA, over 1,800. China not far behind, over 1,700, almost 1,800. In China, Japan with 628, and South Africa with 356. And 2/3 of the growth of the CFP professionals in 2013 occurred in those 2 largest countries, the U.S. and in China. In terms of percentage growth, Fpsb Ireland, again, starting from a very small base, Ireland had a very large number of new CFPs last year. Brazil, Thailand, Indonesia. I'm happy to tell you that next year, when this slide is created, Israel will be on top. Israel's rate of growth is about 140% in 2014. In the U.S., the typical CFP professional is a man. Approximately 75% of all the CFP professionals in the U.S. are men. They're middle-aged to older. I am 68 years old, and unfortunately there are an awful lot of CFP professionals in the U.S. who are approximately my age and are in the process of transitioning the management and the ownership of their companies to a younger generation. It's one of the biggest issues, frankly, that we face in the United States, is that the ranks of the CFP professionals are aging. They've had a significant academic experience, approximately 10 years of work experience, and many of them, I would say probably 40% of the CFP professionals in the United States work in an independent or a boutique firm, usually after experience in a very large firm. It's a very different story in China. In China, the majority of the CFP professionals are women, and they're much younger. The age range is 25 to about 34 years of age. They all have college education. They've all been certified within the last few years. It's only been within the last few years that China has been certifying any CFPs. And again, they are growing very rapidly. In addition to the numbers I showed you, for current CFPs in China, there are over 100,000 people in the pipeline in China alone. It's a huge country with huge opportunity, and the CFP profession in China is attempting to respond to that. Interestingly, in China, everyone works in a large firm, almost entirely banks. The development of an independent financial planning profession in China where people have their own individual firms is a development still to come. Today, everyone works for a large firm, typically a bank. In Israel, the first cohort, last year's cohort, were 3/4 men, 1/4 female, which is about the same ratio as exists in the United States. The vast majority of them are in a early to late middle age range. Almost all of them have more than 10 years of experience. All of them are university educated. And 1/3 of them work in firms that are relatively large, more than 1,000 people. So the global drivers of financial planning have already been mentioned. The increasing age of the population, people are living longer. There is increased personal responsibility because people can no longer rely as much as they used to on employer pensions or government-sponsored pension schemes. This is true not only in Israel, it's true everywhere in the world. And so people are looking for and needing advice. They are looking for financial planners to be competent. They're looking for them to be ethical in their practice. They are hungry for the relationship of trust that Dan has mentioned. And the driver of this growth in the opportunity is also the growth of the relationship model. Financial services are attempting now to compete much more on the basis of relationship than on the basis of transactions. And the relationships are strengthened by putting the client's interest first. You've heard that earlier today. You will hear that again many times. The client's interest coming first is the hallmark of true financial planning and is a requirement of people who hold the CFP certification. A third driver is coming from the regulators themselves. The regulators are actively seeking changes at the systemic level. They're focusing on consumer protection. They're concerned particularly about the trauma that many consumers faced during the global financial crisis of just a few years ago. So they're concerned about the competency of planners. They're concerned and in some cases are imposing a fiduciary standard of care. And at the very least, they're insisting on transparency and disclosure so that conflicts can be well managed. Remuneration is a key issue. I had the opportunity yesterday to speak with several of the people in this room around the issues of remuneration, and there is a lot of development occurring along those lines, including, I understand, proposed regulation here in Israel. So the issue of remuneration continues to be a really crucial issue with lots of different attempts at solution around the world. And the other development is the development of a professional self-regulatory body. This is what we should, as a profession, hope we can achieve, that we can regulate ourselves in a way that is intelligent, that is effective, that accomplishes the goals of serving clients well, rather than being exclusively regulated by government regulation that may not be sufficiently aware of the characteristics of the work that we do for clients. Much better to develop a credible self-regulatory environment, and the Fpsb is working very hard to make that possible. Finally, And no surprise to people here that globalization itself is driving the business opportunity. There are now global standards for many, many types of occupations and professional endeavors. The same thing is true for the profession of financial planning. And CFP certification that you now participate in as a constituent body of the Fpsb is part of that. CFP certification is global, and I'll talk more about the details of that, while the financial planning practice is necessarily local, taking into account local culture, local laws, local regulatory environments, but nevertheless the requirements of the certification are themselves global, the same here as they are in the United Kingdom or in Australia or in Brazil. The requirements for certification are the same. So let's talk about the journey to a profession. The characteristics of a profession are specialized education. This is something that Dan and his colleagues have devoted a lot of attention to over the past several years. It provides a unique and essential services. It puts the needs of society first. It is endowed with professional autonomy, usually, again, the ability to regulate itself, and with that, the responsibility to operate in the public interest. It has a code of ethics and standards of performance through self-governing associations. Those describe the characteristics of the financial planning profession now around the world. So I'm going to speed through some of these slides because I want to show you some data, and I'm mindful of the time. So the point of this slide is simply to illustrate the elements of those certification standards. You'll see there highlighted 3 E's: education, examination, experience requirements, and the 4th E, ethical principles. And within each of those, the arrows go down to standards of competence for education, the requirements of what the education must encompass, what the exam characteristics must be, what the experience that is required must be. For the financial planning process, standards of practice, some things are appropriate to do, other things are not. And ethical principles, standards of ethical behavior that every CFP is expected to adhere to. Again, I want to quickly go through these things because I want to show you some data about the career opportunities, both from the standpoint of the professionals and the standpoint of the people who employ them. But this demonstrates the, if you will, the hierarchy of professional development, from the consumer's need for basic financial management that they can often provide for themselves, through the need for additional advisory services that advances ultimately to the ability to provide specialized financial planning services that require specialized professional development even beyond the initial certification. So what is the value of CFP certification? Well, we can look at it from several standpoints. For practitioners, it's a satisfying career that helps increase income and builds very satisfying client relationships. For firms, it's a training source that boosts productivity and revenue, improves client relationships, and very importantly, lowers the risk that those employers face. For clients, it provides a trusted advisor who will place their interests first. And for the regulators, the people who are concerned about consumer protection, it provides confidence that CFP certification increases the number of competent and ethical financial planners. So let's talk a little bit about consumers valuing CFP certification. In 2008, in the midst of the global financial crisis, the CFP board in the United States conducted a survey of financial planners, and 2/3 of those financial planners saw an increase in potential clients as a result of the turbulence that was underway in the economy around the world at that time, you might have thought it would go the other way, that people would be so frustrated, so traumatized by the crisis in their wealth and in many cases in their employment that was caused. Instead, they sought even more strenuously the guidance of financial planners. It was the right thing for them to do, but it surprised a lot of people that consumers did, in fact, look to financial planners for assistance in that very trying time. Practitioners also value CFP certification. Beginning in 2012, 2 years ago, the Fpsb worked with a consulting and research organization in the United States called Cerulli Associates to do a survey of the perspectives and degrees of satisfaction of CFP certificates in the United States. And this research is ongoing. So what we learned is that CFP certification, we knew this, but it was really wonderful to have this kind of confirmation. 37% of the people who acquired the CFP certification earned a promotion, got a new job, or started their own practice after becoming a CFP professional. So it was a very significant career advancing opportunity for them. 57% of them, well over half, grew their client base in the 12 months following CFP certification. 63% of them, almost 2/3, saw their income grow in the 12 months following CFP certification. 72% reported increased satisfaction with their careers as a result of receiving the CFP certification. And 87%, almost all of them, expect to keep their clients longer, have more durable relationships as a result of earning their CFP certification. So all in all, the CFP certification demonstrates to people who hold that certification that it is extremely valuable in the enhancement of their own professional and financial careers. But that's not the end of the good news. Firms also value CFP certification. Beginning about 2.5 years ago, Fpsb worked with an organization that does market research called Comparator. And Comparator surveyed 92 firms around the world involving 12 territories. The territories are identified there: China, India, Canada, the US, Brazil, etc. And in those 12 territories, there were over 120,000 financial advisors at work. And in those 12 territories, there were almost 12,000 CFP professionals involved in the firms the 92 firms that participated in this survey research. And what we learned is that almost 70% of the people responding to this survey felt that advisors or planners with CFP certification saw a higher rate of growth of assets under management. So they saw it as hugely valuable to the dynamics of their business. And 69% felt that the CFP professionals generate higher revenue and that the business revenue increased at those firms as a result of employing CFP professionals. 62% felt that CFP professionals generate higher profit compared to those without the certification, and virtually the same number felt that business profit increased as a result of employing CFP professionals. 2/3 of them felt that advisors and planners with CFP certification were more productive compared to those without the certification. Almost 60% reported CFP professionals have fewer complaints against them compared to those without certification. And 61% reported that having a greater number of CFP professionals lowered complaints from clients. So not only were the complaints low, they became lower as a result of hiring CFP professionals. Almost 70% said that it lowered compliance and legal risks. And again, almost 70% indicated employing a greater number of CFP professionals lowered their overall corporate risk. Almost an overwhelming majority reported that employing CFP professionals led to increased client retention. And this is one of the most significant issues, because in holding on to a client is much easier than getting the next new client. So I'd like to conclude by once again congratulating you on the enthusiasm that you are demonstrating. I want to encourage all of you who are not already CFP certificates, who are in the financial planning business, to pursue CFP certification. There are many advantages. We've just gone through them, both to you as a planner and to your employer as a business from having that certification. I want to congratulate UFPI for the great work that it's done in launching the CFP profession in Israel. And I want to encourage all of you to make a significant personal investment also in your human capital. One of the things that will make your service as a financial planning professional to your clients, to the society as a whole, will be to bring a larger, richer, more empathic understanding of human nature and the needs, wants, desires of your clients. We perform an important social function in financial planning. We provide an opportunity for people to make much better financial decisions than they would otherwise. And as a result of making those better financial decisions, the world as a whole is a better place. So thank you for your enthusiasm. I congratulate you again on my own behalf and on behalf of the 160,000 of your colleagues around the world. Thank you very much.